grumpy.
She hit me first.
Oh. All right, you two. Okay, folks, we're so glad you joined us, and we are going to get rolling in just a little bit. We're going to let folks get logged in. So hang on, and we'll get rolling in about, 5 or 6 minutes.
Are we live?
See what happens here. Okay, how's the sound now, folks? Can you hear me better? You can give me a little feedback in the chat section. Okay, now we're cooking with fire. All right, it is good to have everybody on. And like I said, you are in for a treat, some great practical resources, some great information and suggestions about how to have a small church choir. And we are blessed to have with us Mrs. Donna Owens, who is a church choir director at Immanuel Lutheran Church in Higginsville, Missouri, which is right down the road to our west, and also Mr. Bill Gasau, who is the church choir director at Holy Cross Lutheran Church to our east in Emma, Missouri, former choir director and band director and all-around great guy here at St. Paul Lutheran High School. So it's good to have you in the seat, both of you today. And just a couple of housekeeping notes down in that chat section. If you have any questions during our time today, please type your question down in the chat feature there on the left, and I will gladly address that to our presenters. And if you give me just a second here, I'm flying by myself, so I'm going to bring up our presentation, and as that's coming up, we are going to open with a word of prayer. Let us pray. Gracious Lord, our Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this day and the opportunity to serve you. And one of the most beautiful ways that we can serve you and proclaim your word and praise your most precious name is through the gift of song. And so many choirs throughout our country, throughout our churches, make a beautiful noise unto the Lord, but it can be a struggle, especially in small churches and with dwindling numbers. And we give you thanks, Lord, that we can gather folks together and sing that joyful praise. And Lord, we thank you for the opportunity for this webinar, and we pray that the information we receive today we can use in our various congregations and settings to your glory. It's in your name, O Christ, that we pray. Amen. And so I will now turn it over to Bill and Donna. Take it away.
Well, Bill Gasau is my good friend, and he's going to introduce himself to you and tell you a little bit more about his background.
First of all, thank you, Pastor Kohlbaum, for that flattering introduction. I'm Bill Gasau. I taught at St. Paul's High School in Concordia, Missouri for 47 years. For about the last 30 years, I've been director of a small church choir at Emma, as Pastor Kohlbaum said. Holy Cross is a congregation of about 370 baptized. We have about 16 members in our choir. Average age is probably 65 or above. And we'll be talking throughout the webinar more about things that we do in our small church choir at Holy Cross, how often we sing, some of the music that we sing. Donna?
Well, my name is Donna Owens. I am a graduate from the University of Central Missouri, where I was an organ major and also studied piano and voice there. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in music ed from that university. And I've worked with that department to develop the Kodai Summer Institute there and get that established in the university. So I feel really pleased with that because it really promotes literacy and teaches people how to be more musically literate. I taught for 35 years in the public schools. I did K through 12 instrumental vocal music at some time in my career, but mostly was emphasized in the primary music grades. And I have served as the director of the Immanuel Lutheran Church choir for 30 years, where I am also serving as one of the organists there. Let me tell you a little bit about Immanuel. Immanuel has 600 so baptized members, but the attendance fluctuates, and the choir has fluctuated in membership from 18 to 25 members over the years, depending on the year. We've had members move in and go out. There's a core group maybe of about 10 singers that I have that's been with me through this whole time. The ages of my choir is rather interesting. I have members who are 12 years old and they range up to the mid-80s. so we have quite a blend of voices and all ages in between. The voicing changes from year to year. I may be heavy in one voice one year and not so much another. For the past few years, we start in September, right after Labor Day, and we rehearse through May, but we've taken January and February off as a recess in those months. During this choir season, we sing 12 to 16 different times through the year and maybe perform a total of 25 different anthems through that time. So that's what our schedule is. Okay, Pastor, should we go on?
We wanted to talk first about what we feel like is the role of the choir of music in the worship setting. And as you can see there, Psalm 149 tells us to praise the Lord, sing the Lord a new song. And that's one of the things that I think we can do very, very well with a choir. Singing songs that have a good text, that are appreciated by the members of the congregation and fun to sing for the choir themselves. The role music should be is that it shouldn't necessarily be in the congregation, that it would be something that would be primarily entertaining, but it should be worshipful. It's something that can certainly make the singer as well as the worshiper feel good, but it's not there to take the place of a concert. It's to add to the worship.
And many times to do that, I know that in my congregation, I always plan the music in joint work with the pastor when I know the theme or the message of that service. And the music is to reinforce this message of what that we want to bring to the people that day. Many times my choir has been used as a teaching tool also for the congregation. When we got the new Lutheran Service Bulletin hymnals, there was a lot of new hymns in there that the congregation didn't know, or the divine services that we didn't know. And so the choir learned them, and we taught them to our congregation. So now we can use almost all the hymns and the divine services with the congregation because the choir learned them first, and then we performed them for the congregation, and then they joined in with us, and we used our role to help them learn this new music, and now they are very comfortable with the new the Lutheran Service Bulletin. When you have to look at your congregation and see what your choir can do, what is their availability and their ability level of how long or how many times you perform. We do not perform every Sunday. Some service churches do. You could go every service, twice a month, only at festivals and special occasions. Our congregation has basically twice a month and on special occasions and where the choir serves. But you have to look at what your congregation needs.
We don't sing quite that often, but probably about 7 or 8 times a year. Sometimes just one song per service, sometimes 2.
Yes.
And
let's go on to our topics about the music, and let's see where we're going to start. I think a good place to start is with how do you select your music. If that's where we begin, at least that's where I know I begin with every new choir season, is I start selecting the music for the group. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I do is I find out what the themes for the different services are. I have a pastor who is wonderful to work with, and he will sit down and plan his themes and give them to me, and then I can go and search for music that I feel would be a complement to that service. If you don't have that luxury, then there's always the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod worship lectionary readings that you could get, and you could go to the readings for the different Sundays and find that out for yourself. So, but
I think, also in selection of music topic, and it kind of tied in with the previous topic that we had in the role of church music, is that we want to pick music, and we want it to have a role in the service for the choir that it's enjoyable to listen to and fun for the choir to sing, right? We want the choir members in rehearsal as well as worship to enjoy what they're doing and to feel the love of Christ and the love of their God-given talent to sing.
I have found that a variety of styles and contemporary to traditional music to gospel is all something that they enjoy as the people who are performing the music, and you never know the preferences of your congregation, that one style will touch a person in your congregation more than another. And I have found people come up to me afterwards and say how much they like the song, and that it was somebody who I would never have thought that would have really responded to it, but that style that day was what they needed. So we tried to give a little variety to try to meet everybody's needs.
I think one of the key things for anybody, small church choir, large church choir, is that in selection of the music, we need to be careful. Bach said, let the text be the master of the music. We want to make for sure that we don't mislead the worshipers or the singers in what the text says. Not all music that's published today, unfortunately, not all music is doctrinally, scripturally correct.
That is correct, and I'm sure you do too. Before I even look through the melody of a song, I scan and read the text. And if the text is incorrect, it doesn't matter who the composer is, the style, or anything. It goes away. We're not going to use that with my group. And so we put that away because there's just countless songs out there that are scripturally and doctrinally correct that you can perform. So don't get misled by something that's just not. It's a pretty song, but it doesn't give them the message that you want to convey in your church.
And just so that you know, folks that are out there that are watching this, at the end of our webinar, we will be showing you a list of songs that tie in with selection music that Donna in her church and in her career and history, as well as me, we have found to be songs that meet the criteria of the things that we're talking about. Fun to sing, doctrinally correct, text-wise, singable, and so that will be here at the end of the webinar also.
Yeah, and it's in a variety of voicings because not all choirs can sing SATB music. So you might have a year like I did a couple years ago. We did everything two-part in SAB because that's the combination of voices I had. So we hope we give you a good start as places that you could go or things that worked for us. Pastor, can we go ahead to maybe the next slide here?
Oh, ability level of your choir. That's what we picked next, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's a fun one.
That will vary, won't it?
It does. I have people who read well, and I have those who don't read at all. I have some who sing really well, and I have singers who were really blessed if they find the melody that Sunday. So I will have to say that I have never, ever in all the years I've directed told someone they couldn't sing in my choir if they didn't have ability. I really don't care. I do care if they sing well or not, but I would never tell anyone who wanted to sing in the choir that they could not sing because of their ability. I think it's My job as the director to help train them a little and help them improve. But anyone who wants to sing and give glory to God in the choir is welcome in my choir at church. So,
not too likely that you're going to find too many rural churches with trained professional singers in them, is it?
No.
Well, they're all going to be amateurs at singing, but probably they're in the choir because they find it a way to share the talent that they do have, and because maybe they enjoy singing, and it's maybe a social outlet for them. But they're not maybe going to be able to read music or figure out rhythms, and these are things that just need to be learned and taught in rehearsals. Unfortunately, ability level of the choir can be tremendously varied from one individual in the choir to another. And that person that is more talented and easy to read music sometimes maybe is just kind of biding their time, waiting for others to catch up. So
it's really, though, if you have someone who's talented in a section, it's a blessing, so they can really support and hold that section together. I'm always looking for one leader in each section so the group can go together, and that person lead your section, and they'll learn the music quickly. And most of my singers, if they've heard it correctly and somebody is leading them, they'll follow the leader and learn their part correctly. I would just recommend that if at all possible, if you can have an accompanist for your choir that plays and can help you with rehearsals, that's a blessing. I am a person who's a keyboard person, and I play, and I can do that myself, but I would much rather be directing my choir.
Me too.
So there have been years, and this is one of them right now, where I don't have an accompanist. So I need to teach my choir their parts well enough so that they can sing them without me actually standing in front of them and directing, because I need to play the accompaniment. We rectify that in a couple ways. I do buy the CD accompaniments for some choir anthems that's available and use them to accompany the choir when we sing. So if that's available, that might be a resource that you could use. If you don't play well yourself, maybe you can find someone in your community who does, who would be willing to make an accompaniment tape for you. And then you could use it for your rehearsals and for your performances if that is what you need to do. I've also found out that there is a publication called the Concordia Organist, where all the hymns and all the divine services in the Lutheran Service Bulletin are on CD, and they're all organ accompaniments, and they play all the verses, and some have full introductions to hymns, and some have partial ones, but that is available if it's something that you would need, okay?
I was going to also throw in, Donna, that many times, because our rural churches are small in attendance, that if you have a neighboring congregation that you could join together to make a choir of a little bit more sizable group of singers. We at Holy Cross have done that with two neighboring congregations to the east of us in Sweet Springs, and the three congregations together have put together a combined choir. We would sing at each of the three churches, 2 different Sundays, but that worked very, very well, and we enjoyed getting to know members of the other congregations. Likewise, sometimes, depending upon the ability level of your choir, you don't need to feel like you have to sing SATB music. 3-part, 2-part, unison singing, straight from the hymnal, all a means of worshiping and adding and enriching the worship service.
And don't be afraid to alter a piece. I have one that I'm working on right now, and the bass part went too high for my basses. And after we rehearsed it the first time, I went, this is too high. So I'm switching a few voices around, maybe having The tenors take the baritone line and drop the basses out and switch my women around. But also, I just had the basses sing an octave lower in one place, and it works, so that you just have to look at your piece, and you can maybe even just drop a voice part out. Let's say if most of the song is unison or two-part, and it goes into four-part harmony in a couple places, it may not be necessary for the integrity of the piece to sing all four parts if you don't have but a three-voice choir. Don't be afraid to adjust or to sing just melody in a place. It's just fine, and that would be quite acceptable.
Okay, are we going to the next slide, Donna?
I think so.
Okay. I think it deals with our music budget, doesn't it?
Money.
Money, yes. Which is always a challenge for rural congregations as well as probably many larger congregations, is how much money you can spend for hiring outside singers or performers, spending on music, and robes, all sorts of equipment that you might want to do to add to the sound of the choir with percussion instruments and things. So it's something that's going to be a problem for everybody. It's something that we probably don't have easy answers to.
I would just start as if you are new in a church and you're starting from scratch, then I would recommend maybe finding some neighboring congregations and see if they would be willing to share music with you that you could borrow. I have borrowed pieces. I'm quite open to anybody coming and borrowing from us. You know, I want it back to put in the file so somebody else could use them. But I think that we should be able to work together. For years in my church, when I first came there, we had one service the year was a cantata service. It was the Christmas cantata, and the money that we collected at that service was designated to go for music in the church. And so for several years, that offering was our budget.
Okay.
It worked. It funded the choir, and as a result, as far as music, I got to build a large repertoire. I didn't need that after a while, so we dropped that out of the budget. So now the church just tells me, well, if you want to order some music, go ahead and order it. But my files that I have been building over the last 30 years, I use pieces again and again. The choir loves to sing them again. The congregation loves to hear them again. They're quality music. There's no reason not to use an anthem many, many times. I try not to usually use it 2 years in a row. I keep a list of the songs that I've sung and when, and then if I look back and I said, oh, I used that last year, I won't use it this year, I'll use something different. But now I order maybe one or two new pieces a year that I search for if there's some special occasion that I need music for. But my music budget has gone way down at this point in my history there with the church.
Likewise, we talked about, or I think you had mentioned borrowing music from neighboring congregations. I know there are public schools who have good sacred music in their libraries, and another resource to borrow music from that be very cheap. Naturally, Donna and I, being educators, being musicians, we really discourage congregations or anybody from breaking copyright rules just to save the budget.
There is not one mimeographed page in my files. We do not copy music. I know a lot of the composers who have worked and done these arrangements and published these songs, and this is their livelihood, and I wouldn't steal from them. So please be careful. There's music in public domain that you can go online and, like, for a small fee of $3-5, you can purchase a song and make as many copies as you want. So please watch that carefully. Also, I've had a couple of times where there was a special occasion in church, a special service, or a family was having a special event, and they donated the money for an anthem to celebrate that service, and so they would pay for an anthem, and then it went into our church file. So that's another way that you can increase your file in your music. Privately owned books, some people own their own, so they're willing to share, especially if you're just going to sing a piece in unison, which I've done a couple of times. I said I couldn't find anything I really liked, but I found a song that I liked, just the words and the melody, and so we sang it in unison, and it was just perfect, and everybody enjoyed it that way.
Yeah. I think we're ready to go on to rehearsals, Pastor Colbaum. Oh, here we are, rehearsals. Here you actually see on this slide, I'm the director there, and this is our church choir, and this was a special 150th anniversary service choir. So we are not that many voices on a normal Sunday. But there were some additional singers there, some high school kids that I brought in to help us sing. So as far as rehearsals, we rehearse at Holy Cross about every other Sunday, regularly, September through May, sometimes taking January off. Sometimes, if it's necessary, we'll rehearse every Sunday, but usually every other Sunday for an hour to an hour and a half, usually at 6:30, starting at 6:30 till 7:30 on Sunday evenings. It's a time for us to not only practice our music, improve our musicianship, but have fun and socializing. It's a great way to visit with people, particularly if you're in a congregation where the setting is not so convenient for you to visit with people before or after church, because the narthex is small. But a smaller group like this was rather informal. It's a great way for us to get to know one another. We go ahead, Donna. What were you saying?
Well, my rehearsal time is different. We rehearse on Wednesday nights from 7:30 to 8:30. If there's an Advent or a Lenten service, we start rehearsals immediately after the service on Wednesday nights. Only time we run long is if it's like before Christmas and we're working for the Christmas cantata and we have a lot more music to prepare, then it may go an hour and a half. So that's we begin and we end our choir season with a social, a potluck at either the last couple have been at my home. Different members have volunteered their homes. We've done them at church. The choir usually leads caroling for the shut-ins in our congregation, and we go around and we have a Christmas celebration then after that event where we pick. So, and we ask members of the congregation to join us. So these are different things about rehearsals. As far as the rehearsal itself, I would recommend if you are the director to warm up your choir before they start to sing with just some short warm-ups, just to get that voice ready to perform. As someone who's dealt with vocal problems all my life, as far as using my voice, I found that is a good way to save voices and to increase the life of your voice, is to treat it with good care. So warm up your voices, and then there's work for a good tone in your group, and I guess we can talk about some of those actual rehearsal things that you listen for. If you're not a trained director and you don't know, well then you don't have to be a trained musician in order to be a director. You just have to be a good listener to your group and then help them to fix any kind of tone or rhythm or vocal problems that you hear.
You as a director know that if it doesn't sound right, there's probably something that's causing that, and try to find out what it is and fix it.
And try to find out what it is, right? And so
make it a better sound.
And there's some basic vocal things that everybody can learn how to do, whether you're a trained musician or not, to help your choir sound better. So
something that in rehearsal and performance, I don't think there's going to be any church choir that's particularly a rural church choir that's going to sound as good as the college choir is that you sang in when you, as a director, were in college, if that was the case. And that's okay. It shouldn't sound like that. You have to, as a director, know, hey, this is what they're capable of doing. We've established our goals for this particular song or this performance. We've met those goals. And feel good and feel proud about that, and share that with the singers in rehearsal, that, hey, this is much better than what it was last week or 2 weeks ago.
right.
And that's really what you want to do in rehearsals, is to see improvement, isn't it?
Yes, and I always ask I give them a lot of grace, and they give me grace too, because sometimes they can find things that I've missed, and I go, oops, that's right. And so we just work together, and I think as the director, you want to develop that rapport with your singers. They're just sort of like your own special church family, this choir who comes together, and we work well together. Okay. Yes.
Are we having problems?
Yeah, we lost sound. Talk some more.
Okay, keep talking.
Okay.
I think, let's see here.
I think we're ready to maybe go to the next slide.
Oh, my computer. You're still going.
Okay. Well, we don't have a picture now, but that's okay.
You've been disconnected.
Oh,
Reconnect.
what happened? Okay, hang on.
That's been up there the whole time.
Yeah. Come back up. What are you doing? The network went down. Oh, no. Gone. Oh, come on.
Okay. Pause, right. Get a drink. Here, Gabe.
Folks, if you're still online, just hang on. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty here, but we'll come right back up as soon as we can. How you doing this?
So who's that, Todd? Is that a granddaughter?
That's Abigail. Baby girl.
Okay. Try it. You don't have grandchildren yet, do you? No, I'm sorry. I mean, we're old as we are.
Old as dirt.
Our network is gone. I don't know what to do here.
Can we start all over?
No.
We'll see if I can pick them back up.
You know who Greg is, don't you? Cleveland?
Yeah.
That'll be
In
short.
this whole move, we switched over to our own DSL line.
Sure, she's really
Oh, she's bad.
bad, I heard.
Just a matter of days. But I haven't laughed this hard in weeks or months. But I went to Greg yesterday.
Okay.
Hi, folks. You're still here. We lost our internet connection. I apologize. We're back. And thank you for hanging on there. There's several of you that have hung on, and we're back again, and I'm just going to let them take back over. I'll get you guys your computer back up in a minute.
Okay.
All right,
all right.
thanks so
You
much.
can start talking.
I think we were talking about
Rehearsals,
and we're probably ready to go on to our next topic. Pastor Kohlbaum, are they seeing slides?
Get help.
Get help, yeah, okay.
Are they seeing slides?
They are seeing slides.
Okay, cool. All right. So, get help. If you don't have training and you need to know what to do, well then I suggest finding some maybe music Are they able to hear us when you're over there?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, we're cool. Okay, maybe get in touch with your local high school director and ask them to give you some pointers. I don't know of a music person out there who is not supportive of people trying to do music in their community and in their churches. So go ask for somebody to help you, whether you're talking about rhythms or dynamics or notes.
Diction, vowels.
But things you should study in your scores before you begin a rehearsal. Check your tempos. Don't pick songs that all have the same tempos. Look for different dynamics in your piece. If you sing the song at the same dynamic level through the whole piece, it's probably not correct. I don't know any music that is not has some varied tempos and dynamics a little bit.
And really something that can be very helpful, Donna, is most new music now, you can get a CD with it.
That's correct.
And listen to that CD. A lot of times you'll even find that same song done by somebody else and hear it available on YouTube.
Yes.
And use resources like that. Like Donna said, the local high school choir director, other church choir directors can contact Donna and I at any time. So we'd be glad to help in any way we can.
One other thing, I guess when I'm working with my group, and since I have such varied ages, is our picture correct on there?
Just keep going.
Okay. I found that to help these ages from 12 to 80 sing together and have a good unified tone is that we learn how to sing vowels correctly with long vowels in our mouth, the shape of our mouths all the same, and it corrects correct vowel production, corrects so many intonation problems, pitch problems, diction problems, because everybody has got their mouths shaped with good vowels. And when do I practice those? I do those on my warm-ups. And so in your warm-up time, we sing the different vowel sounds, and we work on getting the shape right. And then just look for those vowels in your text and use that to help guide your singers. And that will be so helpful with your group in singing in a uniform tone.
Right.
So.
And really, I think, isn't it, for me anyhow, I've found that the key element to correct vowel production is you cannot get a correct vowel, long or short, any vowel, with your mouth closed.
Oh, no.
You got to keep reminding people who are used to speaking with somewhat of a closed mouth to animate their jaw and get it down.
Because singing it's just a different way to produce tone, and I try to demonstrate for my choir and just show them the difference when I sing something with a small, and as I open my mouth, they can hear the tone change and how it riches up and it becomes clearer, and so then they do that themselves. And so it works really well. It worked last night in our rehearsal. We had a spot that we had to work on that. My one voice section was not on pitch. They were a little bit flat, and I said, okay, you got to get that vowel open in that. They did that. It fixed the intonation right away.
Yeah.
And so that was a big thing in rehearsal. So beginning and ending consonants, if you can't understand the words, nobody in the congregation can understand the words either. And so ending consonants are big in singing the text. And sometimes I've just told kids, pretend that your grandmother is sitting in the back row and she doesn't hear very well, and you want her to hear you, but she doesn't need you to be louder, she needs you to be distinct. And then when they work their mouths like that, their diction becomes, because they start paying attention to all the letters in their words, and they have to do that. I can't fix every single letter in every word of a song. So.
And then just likewise, it goes without saying, try to get your church choir to start exactly together.
Yes.
And end exactly together, where possible and where it's necessary to breathe together at the same time, to hold on to a whole note, the full time value, etc.
Come to rehearsals with a pencil and mark it in your score.
Yeah.
Not in ink, but in pencil, grit, points. Those are just basic rehearsal techniques that any choir can do. They can write notes to themselves just in their music, so it helps them become better singers. And mine have to do it when I'm the accompanist. They've got to do these things on their own without me reminding them, so it's important for them to maybe write it in their score and keep track of it. So, Pastor,
we're going to go on, I think.
Yeah, I
Donna?
think so.
Pastor, common problems, and we've listed just a few here on this slide. And
Internet.
Right. We have them too, okay? Probably for most rural church choirs, a common problem is the singers that you have in choir are probably older than 40 or 50 or 60. And maybe their voices are a little bit past their prime, an aging choir. But you got all sorts of varied problems that you could address. One singer who's too loud, or always singing off pitch, or singing just a little bit late, or somebody who's in the choir who's doesn't like the song, or doesn't like your choice of music, or doesn't like you. All sorts of personality problems that can come up. But you work with those. We're all different. We're all God's creations. Pray about them. So
I have found, I listen to my choirs, and sometimes they tell me, I don't like this song, and I said, well, this is the song that fits for what we're doing this Sunday, because our goal, so you have to go back to the reason you have the choir. It's to enhance the worship service and to bring out the message for today. And so maybe I said, this is the song that really fits with what the message is for today. So we'll find some. I'll try to work hard in finding some that you like, but we're going to do every song that we have to the best of our ability. And they trust me, because I really do try to listen to them and meet their needs. And I'm not a dictator with my group, and we smile and we laugh, and so then they work with me on this. And I never, ever try to embarrass anybody in a rehearsal. If a voice is off, I usually just say, this section needs to work again. We're not quite together here, so everybody here think about this. And that usually works. I've been wrong in places. I've had the wrong words. I have the wrong notes, and they find it, and they think that's really wonderful when they can find something that I've done wrong. And I thank them for their paying attention. But we really do try to make the best for the group and not emphasize one person's likes over another. That we're not here for us, we're here to bring God's Word to our congregation, to enrich and the worship service, and to praise our loving God, and that's the focus, not on whether I like the song or I got the solo or whatever. And so when we think about that, then it does eliminate so many of the problems that we have.
Probably another, we've kind of already touched on this a little bit, a very, very common problem for rural, small congregations is number of singers. And we've talked about don't be afraid to sing two-part or unison, mentioned and repeat that consider joining with another local congregation that's having the same situation. The two of you could work together. So
I am working on right now, there is going to be a period of time where I know I will not be available for my church choir. So I am planning now for some solos and some duets for them to use. I asked people, are you willing to sing in a small group? Are you willing to do a solo? I will be happy to make an accompaniment tape for you, or can we buy the accompaniment tape? So you can fill in the music needs maybe for your congregation just by using some solos and duets on some Sundays until the group is ready to go again. At one point, it seemed like half my choir got sick, and when they came back, the other half got sick. So we were scheduled to sing, and we couldn't because we just weren't ready because of, and then the weather. It snowed in the middle of it, and we missed the rehearsal. And so that's when you have to be willing to adjust. And, I think one Sunday we just said, Pastor, maybe we need to sing another hymn this Sunday because the choir is not ready. And that worked. So we're flexible, and we try to do the best we can and give each other a little grace.
Yeah.
So
maybe go on to
our last
series of slides here are suggestions that we have for music that work well with small choirs. Doesn't have to be a 30, 40, 50, 60 voice choir. We've already mentioned some topics here that's listed on this next slide. Don't be afraid to sing unison right out of the hymnal, or even a song that's written for 4 parts. Find the melody and everybody sing it in unison, or 2-part music, 3-part, 4-part.
And I have found, as a elementary music teacher, there is a lot of great music written for children's choir, or 2-part or 3-part mix that are meant for young choirs, and it is very good music, and you can use it in your adult choir because the voicings are good. I would just be real careful on one thing when you were talking about an aging choir. Yeah. Watch your ranges. If the music goes too high, don't sing it. Find something in the range that your singers can sing, because they will want to sing it, and they will sound better, and everything will be better. So look for pieces that do fit into the vocal ranges of your singers.
Donna, what do you mean there by less is more?
Sing less often, but sing well. We do not try to sing it every Sunday. And sometimes, again, a simple arrangement done well is better than to perform an anthem that is just past the group's vocal ability, or it breaks into too many voices, or the rhythms are too hard, or the ranges are too big, or it calls for a brass choir, and frankly, I don't have a brass choir in my church, so it doesn't work. So we go for a simple arrangement maybe that we can do and do well. And then maybe, like on our Christmas cantata, we used to sing 7 songs My group isn't as fast as learning now because I don't have some of the trained singers I used to have. We sing 5. So sing fewer songs and sing them well.
Yes, I agree.
Instead of trying to sing a lot and then you find that nobody is really satisfied.
Why don't we go on then, Donna, to the next slide?
I think we're ready. These are our resources.
These are our resources. Songs that this first slide here, this one in front of you, is songs that I have found in my teaching career and in my church choir career that are fun to sing, doctrinally sound, singable for a small group of people, and the voicings are placed there. You see some of them are not SATB. They're songs that are in the Christmas season. I would encourage you to, if you're looking for something, any of these would work. And then the next slide.
Go ahead, if you will.
All Donna's selections. Donna, go ahead.
And what I did is I tried to go into my file and I tried to bring some SATB numbers from across the church year, SABs, 2-part, 3-part mix. So what you're going to see here are songs that are for the whole church year at different times. And like I said, like a year ago, I did all SAB music because that's the choir I had. So find things that will fit your voicing for your group. And there is nothing wrong with 2-part or unison or 3-part music. In fact, some of our favorite songs are that way. But I've tried to give you a variety of songs. Some are contemporary, some are traditional, some are classical. But the themes and the texts are all what I find very appropriate for our church.
If I can butt in just a little bit, this list will be available. You don't have to try to write all these down.
Okay.
Good, because I think it's a long list. I think there's a more page than this. There's several pages to this. So I think we're really ready for any questions that we could possibly answer. I don't think we have a whole lot of time left, so with our little pause we had for technical difficulties, but if you have any questions, we'll be happy to try to answer them the best we can.
You never know what's going to happen with internet. So technology's great when it works. So we do have a couple of questions, though. Cynthia Johnson from Thompson, Iowa, she had to step away for a call, but she did ask, she had some interest in rehearsals, and she said, you did address when you do a rehearsal and how long, which you were a little bit varied on. If you could mention that again, but maybe some suggestions to help folks, or I should say to help get folks to rehearsals, because she's really struggling with that, and she's the choir director and the organist, and she's camping out at the church.
Is she there too often? Maybe she feels like she's living there. I guess that's why we do Wednesday nights, because if you have an Advent or a Lenten service, then you're already at church. And so it's a continuation then. That works best for our group.
And Sunday mornings likewise would work if there's not Bible class after church.
Right.
To have choir practice right after church when people are already there for that.
I've had to kind of work around youth schedules if you have young people and they're involved in sports. And sometimes I polled my group. I go, what is a good time to start? Do you want to start at 6:37, 7:38? I have one member who drives a UPS truck. Well, sometimes in the holiday season, his work schedule takes him away late. So sometimes just ask your group and then try to go for when that would meet most people's needs. Because, I guess you're going to have to go with the most that can be there.
There's not an easy answer to this problem, Cynthia. Sorry. We have problems because we're in a rural community. We have farmers. Right now, every farmer in the area is in the cornfield. If we wanted to have a rehearsal this evening, we would be missing some singers.
They wouldn't be there.
But don't take it personally.
It's
not you. It's just part of. every rural congregation choir has people that are involved with other things, as a parent, a grandparent, or in their profession.
I have requested with my group that if they know they can't be there, just let me know, or at a performance. I said I never question, I never complain, but I said I'd like to know. So if I know that this number is going to be on this Sunday, and you know you're going to be gone that Sunday because you have a family thing someplace else, please let me know ahead of time so that if for some reason I can make adjustments if I need to. And I really try to respect the time of rehearsal. Rehearsal time is for rehearsing. So that we can be done in an hour, because people are busy and they can't stay late, or they have kids that have to go to school, or if they have their youth that have homework to do, and so we try to respect that rehearsal time. And we're going to start here, we're going to stop here. I'm not going to make you stay late, but then I ask the group also while we're rehearsing. I really appreciate it if you all would work with me on this, so that we accomplish as much as we can in the time that we have together. And if they have to be late to rehearsal, okay, then come late. That's fine with me. Or if you have to leave early because you got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work, then that's fine. Just tell me, and we'll try to work with you. The song we will rehearse first is the one we're doing next, so I know that you've gotten to rehearse that with us.
Good luck, Cynthia. Keep trying, okay? Next question.
Yeah, and that's great advice, too, because it is a problem common to us all, but I tell everybody, with regard to any type of meeting, make it purposeful, get in there, do your work, and get out again. Mm-hmm. And people will be more apt to show up and be involved. Great question from Tim Eden, a pastor. He says, as a pastor, what are one or two things I can do that are most helpful to my volunteer choir director?
Helpful to the choir director. Go ahead.
Plan ahead. That is so helpful. I used to have to just hope that the anthem I picked worked for that Sunday. And so about 6 years ago, the minister in our church and I sat down and I just told him, I said, it would really be helpful for me to pick music if I knew what you were planning in your service. And so now he plans. He doesn't write out his sermons, but he picks his texts, and he picks a theme, and I've already got all the themes for my church to start of Advent. And probably in 2 weeks, we're going to work through the Advent season. And that helps me go in advance, and now I can find music that my choir can do that's going to work for that service, because he was willing to look ahead and plan and pick his scripture readings and the theme for the service.
I agree 100%. We likewise have our music selected through December.
Yes.
And so that's a key thing, Pastor Cobom. Plan ahead. Be prepared, and be prepared for the rehearsal that's coming up. Know what you're going to do. Set your goals as a director.
My pastor said, he didn't used to do that, and he said he's found it helps him so much, because he's run into situations where he had 3 funerals that week, but he had things already prepared so that it relieved stress on him to get things ready. He wasn't the week of the service planning the service. It was done in advance. So that prior planning is just a benefit for everyone. So that's a big thing. My pastor sings in my choir too when he can. So that's a good thing.
Excellent.
Okay.
One more question here online. Deaconess Faith Swenson from North Dakota asked, where is the online music in public domain? Where can you find that?
That's a good question. I found that the person who helped, I just did a Kodai Institute, and the director used mostly music in public domain. That is a tech thing that I'll have to be very honest, I am not real up on. But,
neither am I, Donna.
But the newer, I would go to your high school and your newer music people and ask them how to help you get through that. Because you might just type in on your computer public domain choir music and see what you could come up with. I think there are rules on that. You have a good question, and I am not the best person to ask on that, but I know that there are some tech-savvy young people and music directors out there who know how to access that, and I would go to my high school choral director and ask him to help me with that.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a great resource. And I did have a question for folks who aren't a trained director. And you said, that's fantastic, but maybe a tip or two that can help that untrained director become more proficient. Is there a place he can go to get information? Or I've done this before. I used to direct a church choir, so it's OJT, but
yeah, I would just do your local high school choir director. I think you need to learn how to do some basic conducting patterns. I think you have to develop your own way of cuts, entrances and cutoffs with your choir as a director. These are some basic skills that are learnable, and find somebody who knows how to do it and have them show you.
Or as a way or a means to do it, of learning, be part of a choir where you're a singer and watch carefully, learn from the director that you're singing under, and how does he approach rehearsals, how does he approach teaching a song or difficult rhythms, preparing for a performance.
There are community choirs. I know you
Yep.
belong to one in a
So do
neighboring
you.
town, and I have one where we have singers from 13 small towns come together and they sing at Christmas and Easter, and I'm a member of that choir, and so you can learn things from different directors. But I'm sure you can find somebody in your local community who has some training, and just ask them to give you some pointers and show you. And don't be afraid to ask.
And likewise, go to that area public school and ask the choir director if you could just sit in on a rehearsal. It wouldn't bother me at all when I was teaching to have visitors come in, and I didn't even invite them to sing along, and it became fun for them too.
excellent. Probably time for one more. And you mentioned this, but again, would you mention how many times do your choirs sing in church? And do you normally just sing the choir pieces and disperse, or do you try to help lead the congregational singing of hymns too?
For us, we sing probably once every 5 worship services. We'll sing an Advent service and maybe even sing the same song the following Sunday. We do not feel compelled to sing every Sunday. So.
My choir usually, we try to at least twice a month. We'll sing on Reformation, we'll sing Thanksgiving. We have a Christmas cantata where we'll sing maybe 5 numbers, but we also have our parochial school, and the school children will sing also. So that's that's a cantata service where it's all music. I counted, I think we sang 16 different times last year, and about 24 anthems. When you count, there was if you have a cantata Sunday in May, there's a possibility you may sing a couple. We finished up the year and we sang 2 songs on the last time, just because my choir needed something to keep them busy at the last few rehearsals, so we learned 2. But that's usually what we do, is a couple times a month, and if I find that the group can't be at a special time, then I put a solo or something in there.
In that last question, there were 2 parts, Pastor Colbaum. What was the second part again?
The second part was, do you ever maybe use the choir to help the congregational singing of hymns?
Yes. And sometimes we will sing a verse by ourselves. And if we're aware of it in advance, we'll sing it in unison, or we'll sing it in 4-part harmony, which give some variety. Particularly more difficult or less familiar hymns, sometimes the pastor will ask us to sing through it in choir practice, or at least that many people are familiar with it a week ahead of time.
Right. If we have a new hymn, like I said, my pastor works, and I sit down and we pick the hymns for the service also, since I'm the organist also. And so we pick one and go, this is a great hymn for this service, but our congregation doesn't know this song. Well, then I'll say, okay, the choir will sing it. They'll sing the first 3 verses, and the congregation can join in on the 4th. There was a time when the Lutheran Service Bulletin came out, we had a hymn of the month, and the first time the choir sang it, and then the next 3, we sang it every Sunday for that month. And so, because we were learning that hymn as a congregation, but the choir was the leader on the first time that we did it to help guide the congregation and to sing it for them. So that's how, yes, we do lead the congregation through songs.
And there are several songs in our hymnal that have a chorus and a refrain part.
Yes.
And sometimes kind of neat to have just the choir, the church choir, sing just part of it, the refrain,
right,
and the congregation sing the chorus.
And there was one, and I just looked at my schedule from last year. It was in the very back of the hymnal, and there was like some psalms that are back there, and it was the Song of Jonah. And it's not really a congregational singing type song, so I had a couple of choir members who sang that, and then the congregation could follow along in the hymnal and watch it, but they sang that because the pastor was preaching on Jonah that Sunday, and so it worked. And so they were leading and guiding that away.
Perfect.
Okay.
Great. We are out of time. I know Malcolm, he asked a question, how do you use choir to do outreach to communities? If I might just throw something out there, if you have a cantata service like you're doing, we down in Cole Camp, when I was still in the parish, we would invite members from the community to come in and sing with our choir. Mm-hmm. It was a great outreach to the community, or at the very least invite folks to come in and hear us sing for a special service like that. So it's a great opportunity to use your choir as outreach.
We sang at a retirement home, local retirement home. Likewise, we have done in the past, and you remember this, we would invite the other area congregations to like a concert festival where each congregation's choir would sing 1 or 2 songs, then the next congregation's choir would sing 1 or 2 songs for all the other congregations. It would be open to the public as well, and maybe to have all the church choirs together sing a song. That's kind of neat.
It was fun. And
yes, it is.
Our choir usually, I don't know if this is to gain members, but we would always go caroling for our shut-ins, and we would go to homes, and then we would go to the nursing homes, and we just stroll the halls and sing, and with the choir members, that we could sing in harmony and give people requests, and it was just, they go, that's the Lutheran choir people singing, and it was to be out there and worship in the community with people.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Pastor Kohlbaum, and hope we've been helpful to somebody out there.
You have been extremely helpful. I thank you, Bill and Donna, thank you so much for coming in and helping us today. And folks, this great resource is going to be available to you. Actually, when we close out today, you're going to get a link to download the actual PowerPoint that we used today. And if you need an extra copy of those music resources you got at the end there, the last 3 slides, go ahead and email our office. We have that as a PDF that we can send out to you. It's rstm@lcms.org, rstm@lcms.org. But you're going to get some information right after this is over. That way you'll get any information that you need. Otherwise, contact our office, and maybe we can get you in touch with Bill and Donna. I'm quite certain they would not be unhappy to give you a hand.
You're right. We'd be happy to.
Fantastic. Just a couple of things coming up on the RSTM calendar. We have our national conference November 5th through the 7th. Folks, the registration is formally closed, but we've actually got 1 or 2 spots that we could still slide you in. We've got to cut it off completely, a hard stop on October 1, but you got a couple of days. Maybe you could actually slip in there. And then we've got a couple of webinars coming up on the 10th or the 15th of October. We've got Overcoming Bad Experiences, and the Reverend Mark Wood is going to present that for us. He's the Director of Outreach and Witness, as well as Revitalization for the LCMS. And then Mr. Terry Schmidt, Director of Schools for the LCMS, is going to talk about the relationship within churches and schools. That's on the 19th of November. And Every Pastor Needs a Pastor. Assistant Professor of Practical Theology, Dr. Mark Rockenbach, will be talking about that on December 10th. Again, Bill and Donna, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, attendees, for your patience, especially through our technical difficulties. God's blessings to you all as you go about serving the Lord.
So we're off the air.